Hey, Chef Corso, Outdoor Eats. I'm in Mexico, baby. Yes. Taking a couple days off after a busy season, rest and recharge down here. But man, whew, that water's strong. You gotta be careful. But what we're gonna talk about today is Mexican food. I've been eating a whole lot of great Mexican food down here, and it's a great time to talk about Mexican food for camping and backpacking because it's super tasty, super versatile, gonna make a lot of people happy. Recipes we're gonna look at today, we're gonna do so much more than tacos. There's so much more that you can make on the trail that will be super, super tasty. But we're gonna look at enchiladas, chilaquiles, fajitas, quesadillas, some soups, some grain bowls, and multiple different kinds of tacos and multiple different kinds of tortillas that are super, super tasty. But the funny thing is it's all pretty much the same thing, but gives you a very, very different eating experience. And you know, one of the recipes even has a bunch of Doritos in it. So that's pretty good. I am just outside of Sayulita on the Pacific side. This is the gorgeous Pacific Ocean. I've been staring at this for the last couple days, getting some nice Zen time on. But, oh man, really nice to have some warm sun, get in the water, and just check out and recharge for a few days. So I love Mexican food in general. It's one of my favorite cuisines. It's super, super tasty. It's now part of the American diet, from tortillas, tortilla chips, different kinds of salsas. We all know what carnitas and al pastor are now. In previous generations, there was a taco, a soft taco, and maybe some paste picante sauce. But in 2023 and beyond, we have all of these amazing flavors that are so, so good and really interchangeable. So one of the reasons why I love taking Mexican food along on the trail is that you can use the same ingredients and then just mish them up and change them up, flip them upside down, slap them in a different combination, and you've got a completely different meal. Let's get to it. First off, we're gonna talk about soup. And if you're new to cooking outdoors, soup is a great place to start. It's incredibly forgiving, really, really tasty, satisfying, and you can cook a small portion of soup or a large portion of soup on any camp pot. So the first recipe we've got is tortilla soup. Pretty classic. And the great part about doing tortilla soup is you can use mashed up chips that are in the bottom of the bag, or if you do pack them along and they break, no big deal. But really, really easy recipe to be able to flavor up, cook up. You can add a bunch of veggies, you can add some packaged chicken. You can really go nuts with this and have a really, really great meal in about 5 minutes. And next up in the soup category, we've got jerky chili. It's one of my absolute favorites, and uses jerky, some freeze-dried beans, a couple of veggies, some chili powder, and you can garnish it up however you like, whether that's Fritos or tortilla chips, cilantro, green onion, a little squeeze of lime. Whatever you really want on there. And you know, some of you might be saying, well, that's not really Mexican, that's more Tex-Mex. Well, yeah, you're right, but Tex-Mex is a great version of Mexican food. Maybe it's not super, super traditional, but there's still some great flavors in there that really, really satisfy. And you know, I think the thing about it too is that fusion sometimes gets a little bit of a bad rap, but Tex-Mex is a fusion between the American South, American Southwest, and Mexican food, and it's pretty darn tasty. But this one is super, super filling, really satisfying, high calorie, easy one to make. Mexican food is the absolute champion of food form. Of all the cuisines in the world, it is the absolute champion. And what I mean by food form, you know, if you've watched some other videos, I've talked about stuffing, on how it changes shape and changes styles, and we add moisture to it and then we dry it out and all this kind of stuff to completely change the experience. Or how oatmeal is kind of a chameleon too, where it changes here and there to be able to give us a completely different dish or a completely different experience. But for Mexican food, we've obviously got tortillas of corn and flour. We've got different kinds of salsas, we've got different kinds of fillings, and we can literally slap them together, cook them or not, and we've got a completely different experience. Another way to look at this is if you're sitting there with your partner, or your roommate, or your buddy, or whatever, and you're like, hey, you know, what sounds good for dinner tonight? And you know, your buddy says, let's go for tacos. Like, nah, I don't really feel like tacos. But then they suggest, well, what if we go for burritos or enchiladas? Be like, oh yeah, that sounds good to me. But the thing about it, it's the exact same stuff, just rolled, filled, mushed together, sauced, not sauced, in different ways to give us a completely different dish. So we can use that to our advantage when we're headed out backpacking or camping. So you only have to take a few ingredients and a few seasonings to be able to really, nice, in order to really keep you interested for a longer trip or a longer hike, so you're not just eating tacos and tacos and tacos every single day and every single night. Next up, we've got 2 no burner recipes, because I know some of you out there, don't take a burner on some of your trips, or you're just going on a day hike and you don't want to pack it along. But we've got 2 options. We've got a Southwest quinoa bowl using the packaged quinoa that's available at a lot of grocery stores these days, or you can just use some rice. And very similar is our black bean and brown rice Mexi bowl. So mixing and matching what kind of grains or what kind of beans you want in there, some fresh red pepper, some fresh lime juice, cilantro, maybe some green onion, maybe some chili, and spice it up a little bit. But I love taking these along for a day hike, kind of switch it up out of the recipe rut from just your normal deli sandwich. You can prep it before you go, you can prep it at your rig and just have it marinate in your pack for a few hours. It's a super tasty way to, cheers your hike at the top or wherever your destination is, and have something that's pretty healthy and really tasty and satisfying. I've made these Mexican bowls or grain bowls on multiple longer haul through hikes, and had it on day 2 and day 4 for lunch and just let it marinate, and it was pretty fine. There's not too much in there that's going to go bad, and there's nothing raw in there, and man, it was really flavorful and super tasty. And more importantly, it gave me some really great fuel in those longer days to keep on trucking. Hey, would you look at that? I'm on a log now. So next up, we've got 4 different bowls, just a general category for bowls. So first up is chicken chili verde with rice. So you could make this for car camping with raw chicken thighs. I like using chicken thighs over chicken breasts. Or you could throw a whole chicken in there too in a Dutch oven, that'd be pretty darn tasty. But if you're taking this back in the backcountry, just take packaged chicken, really easy to pack along. You don't have to have instant rice. You could use some masa, you could use some cornmeal to be able to bulk it up a little bit too if you're looking for a little bit more calories. And you could also slap it in a tortilla or just eat it out of a bowl. Next up, we've got a recipe that is super filling, super cheap, super easy to cook up, and part of our bomb series. And it's a 3 Amigos bomb. So if you guys don't know what a bomb is, for the long haul through hikers, you usually bomb together ramen and instant mashed potatoes with a tuna or chicken packet to give you super cheap, super high calorie, super dense meal that cooks up in no time. But we have a whole series of bomb recipes, and this one is super tasty. And what we've got for our 3 Amigos, we've got instant rice, freeze-dried beans, and some masa or some cornmeal, cooking all that up into this. It's definitely not pretty, but it is a really hearty dish. You can make it a 4 Amigos if you want and just slap it in a tortilla. I think that's a great part about Mexican food. It's like, hey, great, I made this and I'm gonna eat out of a bowl. Well, this time I'm gonna put it in a corn tortilla, and that's what I want today, and that's gonna change the experience. Or I'm going to put it in a flour tortilla, or I'm going to roll it up. I don't know, whatever. There's just a whole bunch of great ways to be able to mix up these ingredients to make some really awesome meals. The other thing about tortillas too, while we're talking about that, is for the love of God, toast them. If you've watched any of my videos, is please toast your bread. Please toast your tortillas. You're like, oh, it takes too long. No, it doesn't. It takes about 5 to 10 seconds. Give it a little pass over the burner, whatever burner you have, and it'll give you that little layer of flavor that is missing out of some of the packaged tortillas out there. But I do love packing tortillas because they slide right in the back of your backpack, right by your platypus or your bladder if you have it. So it takes up no space, hardly any weight, and it can feed yourself for multiple days. All right, so we've got chicken chili verde with rice and or tortillas. We've got 3 Amigos or 4 Amigos, 4 Amigos bomb. Next, we've got chilaquiles. Fun to say and a great way to start your day. So I think chilaquiles is a really kind of funny recipe because it gives you license and liberty to eat chips for breakfast. You know, Mom always said you can't have chips for breakfast, you can't have ice cream for breakfast. Well, chilaquiles, you can have chips for breakfast, but it's a great recipe using up old chips from the night before, adding some salsa, some hot sauce. You could do some powdered eggs, some beans for breakfast. because we live in America and you gotta have some eggs, but just mashing that all up in your camp pot, and it takes all of about 5 minutes to be able to cook up and get soft. And it is a great, great way to start your day. And the last of our bowl recipes is Dorito Enchilada Bowl. You know, I tested this a couple years ago thinking it wasn't gonna be all that good, but it's very, very similar to chilaquiles. It's deconstructed enchiladas. So when you think about it, what are enchiladas? It's a corn tortilla with some filling in there and enrobed in sauce. So I just deconstructed it, put it in a pot, and used Doritos because they already had seasoning on them. And it was a excellent, excellent recipe to take for a trip if you don't want to take a lot of ingredients. You know, I added a little bit of beer here, but you could add just some water, a little bit of lime juice, that kind of stuff. But go nuts with this one. Try different Dorito flavors. Let me know which flavor tastes really, really good. You know, I think in this one I use Cool Ranch, which is definitely a pretty great American Mexican fusion. You know, let's put some ranch seasoning in with some tortillas and some salsa and see what happens. So as we're making our way down the beach here, as far as Mexican foods you could pack along, the last general category is basically however you want to build it. It's a lot of the same ingredients, a lot of the same seasonings, but you could do a quesadilla if you're taking a skillet along, cooking up with some cheese and some filling, getting that nice crispy outside. You could wrap it all up in a burrito. You could slightly wrap it up in an enchilada or make it a bowl. Or you could use fajitas, the classic filling with seasonings and peppers and onions. Or just tacos. I mean, tacos are incredible. They're so good, they're so versatile, and you're gonna make a ton of people happy. But some fillings to consider. I've got a lot here because I was brainstorming on tacos. So you could obviously go classic with just some meat and some seasonings, but you could do breakfast tacos, which are a great change up from oatmeal and some sweet items, and really easy to pack along. You could do powdered eggs, you could do instant beans, pre-cooked bacon, some TVP or some veggie sausage to be able to pack along. You know, one of my favorites is some sort of chorizo breakfast taco or breakfast burrito, however you want to build it, with some veggie chorizo. Packs along, lasts for multiple days. So good. But again, you can keep it classic, you can keep it simple, you can build a whole bunch. Yes! I was hoping that would happen. Feels so good. But you could also elevate it from the basic, make some stone smash guacamole. You could take some hot sauce packets, you could pack a little squeeze of lime or a little sumac to give it a little bit of acidity. There's some French's fried onions in there. It's so many ways you can build your taco or your burrito or your enchilada or your fajita or a quesadilla or whatever you want. And the other funny thing, it's a good question to ask your trail crew, is are you guys corn tortilla people or are you flour tortilla people? Some people are like 90% corn, 10% flour. Some are just all flour all the time. You know, for me, I dip more toward the flour situation, especially when I'm just buying tortillas at the regular grocery store. If I'm here in Mexico, I'm probably going fresh corn tortillas because they are super, super tasty. But choose your own adventure as far as what you want. But lastly, when we're talking tacos or enchiladas or burritos or whatever, is don't just think about Mexican flavors here. We've got yaki ramen tacos, pizza tacos, kale and chickpea tacos also. So you could just make a nice veggie taco to be able to fill up your crew. So really go nuts with this. It's just a blanket, it's just something to wrap up your ingredients with, and it's super, super versatile and really, really tasty when you're headed out on the trail. Well, thanks for coming along and hanging out with me on the beach today. You know, where's Corso sometimes takes me to some pretty terrible spots. But all of these recipes are available at outdooreats.com or in our cookbook, so check them out. We've also got a whole bunch of other great ideas for you. This is just about 12 of them, so head over to the website and check them out and get some inspiration for your next car camp, your next trail meal, whatever. But get out there. Boca boca. Is the ocean gonna come back? I hope so.